Let me just say a few words about my boat, Monte Natale. And let me tell you about Monte Natale. It was a little ridge in Italy, north of Minturno, and it was 600 meters long, and it was 300 meters wide, and it was 200 meters high. And the great thing about the ridge was that it overlooked a valley. And the other side of the valley were mountains, and the valley and the mountains were all occupied by German troops. So it was essential, because the British Army wanted to move up to capture Monte Cassino, and the mountains were between Minturno and Monte Cassino, it was vital that they took Monte Natale. But equally, it was vital for the Germans to hold on to it. And so the Battle of Monte Natale took place. And the extraordinary thing is, in that battle on the British side was the whole infantry division, the 5th Infantry Division. And it consisted, would you believe, of 20,000 personnel, half of which roughly were fighting and half of which were support. So that we had the regiments, 13th Battalion, 15th and 17th Brigade, and each regiment provided a battalion, and in addition to which they had the support of the Royal Tank Regiment and the 65th Lancers Regiment and the 201 Guards Brigade. An army of 20,000. It took them 2 weeks to conquer Monte Natale. 2 weeks. And a lesson was learnt that if you take a territory by force, as Machiavelli said, you have to occupy it to hold it. That is the lesson that the Ukrainians and the Russians are learning today. You have to have men on the ground. What is the size of the British Army today? 70,000. 70,000. It took 20,000 people 2 weeks to take an area of 600 meters by 300 meters. And let me tell you that at the end of those 2 weeks, they had to stop advancing because the British troops were in such difficulty at Anzio, they were in danger of being pushed back into the sea. So they had to transfer regiments away from Monte Natale up to Anzio. They didn't move further from Monte Natale, which they were there at the beginning of February, and they didn't advance any further until the middle of May. And in the middle of May, they had to rely on the US Army to come in and help advance. 5% of our expenditure spent on the services. Because if we have to defend ourselves, as we may well do, or even if we have to attack on occasions, then we need that personnel that we can put on the ground. We couldn't fight the Falklands today. Not realistic. We just wouldn't have the personnel. So the book, The Battle of Monte Natale, is fairly unique in the sense that it is a book about 2 weeks in the Italian campaign, and it brings together, uniquely for a war book, contemporary accounts showing war not only at a strategic level involving corps, division, brigade and battalion, but also individual level. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, with words, pictures. There are over 100 illustrations in the book. It shows what happened in the 3 weeks from 17th of January to the 7th of February. My father served with the York and Lancaster Regiment, and on the 20th of January, a witness reported that he saw Private Strafford wounded in the head when a mortar bomb burst among us during our attack. I believe his wounds were serious. On February the 4th, the body of Ernest Strafford was recovered, identified and buried by British troops. And this book is what happened between 22nd of January, hour by hour, to what happened on February the 4th. The Battle for Monte Natale is part of the first Battle for Monte Cassino, the bloodiest battle of the Italian campaign. And in that battle, one regiment, York and Lancs, in their attack on Monte Natale, were 49 killed, wounded 144, and missing 64. That was out of 400 attacking men. And when you think York and Lancaster was just one regiment out of the 12 regiments that participated, and each of those 12 regiments also had equivalent casualties. So, ladies and gentlemen, my father died, I think, I hope, fighting for freedom, liberty, democracy and justice, as did many others. But our generation must ensure that they did not die in vain.